Everybody, welcome to my game shelf. This one is Starsword Empires, a game of interstellar exploration and conquest. It's one that I developed myself. I never put it on the market, but it was in the process of being developed. Hasn't been play tested much, but I've got a basic prototype made. The game is a strategy game, grand strategy game of galactic interstellar conquest. And it can be played by, I believe, about 10 or 12 players. Or maybe about, I think it's about maybe 10 players. Sorry. Anyway, it's been a long time since I pulled this one out, but I thought I'd pull it out and show you guys what it's all about. Okay, here we are. We've got the table full. This is a giant game. The map is about 2.5, 3 feet a square on a side, and it shows the entire galaxy from above. And the galaxy is broken into various regions that have names. Each region also has a energy point, so the game is really about collecting energy points. Energy points gives your civilization that much more power. And as you can see down here, we have all the different races that can be played in the game. They each have their own power track, special rules, tells them what they're able to do, because these different races all have different capabilities. And so you can have a lot of people sit down and play this game, which means it's going to last you quite a while. It's a long game. But it's an abstract, fast-moving, fun game of area conquest in a galactic context. It's also card-driven. We have 2 decks of cards. We have the basic Starsword event cards here, which everybody draws, build a hand. And over here we have your combat cards. And this is an interesting way because you're not using dice for combat anymore. All combat between fleets and ships is done by playing cards. So it's a little bit of a twist on the whole thing. Now, there's a lot of pieces in this game. Each empire has their own set of counters. For example, this would be I believe this is the Lore Guild right here. These guys right here, they tend to be thieves, so they get benefits for stealing things from other races. They can steal any single card from other players' hands during a game turn, so long as they have contact with them. So that gives them a certain advantage. There's their world, the name of their world, their power track, kind of a picture of them. And this is the part of the galaxy that they have able to take over. These are their fleets. You can see fleets represented by these large counters. These are colonies. These are special industrial building colonies. Here we have, there's a colony under revolt here. There's an event that happened here involving this. And so these guys, their neighbors, I believe these are the humans. Here we are. Here's the humans, the Alliance of Humanity. They are over here, and they have made contact, and they are in a trading situation with the Lore. So that's what this stands for. And they have a fleet here. They've got a monster. Yes, there are space monsters that can appear and cause havoc in your empire. Here we have a supernova, which can also affect the viability of a colony. These are explorers here. These are initial explorers. These are actually colonies. So what you do is you send out explorers to then turn a region into a colony. It costs something to do that, and you have to draw a card to do it. It costs energy to do it, and you're going to draw a card. So if you've got a card you want to play and you want to set up a colony, you send your explorers first, and then you establish a colony when you have drawn a colony card, or you have the energy to do it. Here is the game turn track. Every turn is counted as you move your counter along, and when you get to a certain place, the game comes to an end. Let's take a look at the cards, because the cards are the really fascinating part of this game. All right, we got the deck of cards here in front of us. Let's take a look. We have action cards, and here's an example action card right here. Crush a rebellion. Ruthlessly send in troops to destroy rebellion. Costs 8 energy points. Now, you know your energy points from the numbers of points you gather from all your colonies. For example, the humans have 1 energy point here, 1 here, so that's 2. They have 2 here, so that's 4. And they have 2 more, they have 6. This is still an explorer, so there's no con. So they have 6 energy points. That's all they can do. So this card is absolutely unusable because they need 8 to play it. Then there are other event cards. Here is an Imperial Tax Year. with the proper die roll, you can get a rebellion out of this tax increase. But it does give you more revenue, which is energy points. Here's another action to support a rebellion in another empire. So if there is a rebellion in another empire, for example, the Lore here have a rebellion, and the humans want to support that rebellion, it costs you 10 energy points, and it allows you to crush the rebels and then literally take over the colony as your own. Here you can actually start a rebellion. That's a lot of fun. You can establish trade routes between other colonies. Let's see what else we got. You can ally with a minor race. You'll find minor races scattered because these counters, there's a whole series of counters that are going to be placed all over the board. And when you send your ships there, you'll flip it over and you'll find out what's there. It can be, in this case, you got a monster. Or it can be something else. Or it can be a minor race. This would be a minor race. So you would then be able to make an alliance with that minor race. Here you can obtain biowarfare, and there's your cost in getting the biowarfare. Then, of course, you got a cultural influence card. All colonies become yours after a die roll. So you can get influence over an enemy's colony using influence instead of having to attack it with ships. Here is a declare war card. Now it's going to cost you 15 energy points to declare war. And you can crush a rebel empire if you want with this card. Cultural influence again. Here is a minor race client state. You can make minor races like this a client state, and they actually give you taxes. They give you revenue. And there's a whole variety of things that go on. Here is construct a starfleet. You can build a fleet in any controlled sectors, and here example would be a fleet right there. So they're rather abstracted. And there's a whole bunch of these cards to play in this game, and they tell you what to do. Here's a great commander. You can hire a great commander to lead your fleet, and that costs this much, and it gives you 2 battle cards. So let's explain. Then there's events like this supernova. Supernova happens, it can destroy a colony. And so if you draw this, you can actually, you got to place a supernova in that region, and if it happens to be a colony for any player there, it's destroyed. There's a lot of other cards. I'm not going to get into them all. But let's cover now the battle cards, because the battle system is very unique. So when ships and fleets meet in the same region of space, they conduct combat. And players draw combat cards. So you'll draw combat cards for a hand. And you'll look at your hand, and here's an example. Now I drew, let's turn these over so we can read them. I drew there we go. Drew a close-in attack and dense lines, okay? Then I have another one that's a fighter swarm versus fighter screen. And then I have, for only the vector, which is a race, only they can use this card. This card is useless to me, so when I get to get new cards, I'm just going to turn this one in and draw another one that I can use. This one here is a probe and screen card. Now, what happens is, if you attack, you get to play, you each pick a card you want to play upside down, and you place it. And then you reveal your card. If the card matches, if they have a probe and screen, then nothing happens. If somehow you get the upper hand, then you get to win win that battle, and they lose. And this can happen. You can keep playing cards until you get the upper hand. So that's really how that is. And there's all these different tactics. And there are more of certain kinds than others. Some tactics there's only a few of. Others there's more of. So if you play an unusual tactic, you have an unusual tactic to play, unusual tactic card, battle tactic, generally you're going to have the upper hand in that combat. And that's how it is. So it's very simple between fleets, and then the fleet is taken down, and you got to buy a new one if it's destroyed. So it's rather abstract. But the idea is to take over as much of the galaxy as possible and gain as many resources as possible on your power track. And at the end of a certain turn here, if you have the highest amount of power on your track, you win the game. And it says every player has a different strengths. For example, the human beings are natural traders, always looking for a way to increase the empire's wealth, but they do not shy away from armed conflict to help achieve it necessary. Advantages are no cost to establish a trade route, an extra battle tactic, and draw card. So that's the advantage that humans get in the game. And I'm going to show you the map a little closer here. You have your core worlds area right here, and then you've got the Vodern sector, the Brosis sector, etc., etc., all the way out to the rim of the galaxy. And the higher numbers of energy are closer to the center of the galaxy. So these core sectors are much more valuable than the ones on the far rim, which tend to be a lot of 1s and 2s. So depending on where you get seated in the game, because everybody has draws a card at the beginning, and it tells them where you're going to start. Here you'd start at the Geridian Gates. So the Geridian Gates would be your sector for you to put your home world. That's how you decide where your home world is and where you begin. It's completely random based on a card draw. Now there is a manual here, and once again, I was in the process of developing this game, and never got around to a major manual, but I did manage to type up enough to play test the game with all the different rules here, all about counters and empires, foundational game concepts, settlers, colonies, trade routes, and then I have a piece for each empire. You have one empire that's nothing but robots, all different kinds of empires having the various histories and their advantages in the game. A Vargar Empire, the Zydor Conclave, the Sindri Federation. Some of them are better at trading. Some of them are better at building buildings. Some of them are better at spying and stealing. Others are better at diplomacy. And so your empire has a particular advantage that others don't. But it can be offset by the other guy having advantage over you. So everybody has a different way to play the game. For example, the Skeen Hive are breeders, and they breed prodigiously, which means they cost nothing to settle and colonize a sector. And you're immune from supernovas and core world limitations. So these guys want to colonize the center of the galaxy because they aren't affected by a lot of supernovas and core world problems, which tends to happen in the center of the galaxy. Well, this is the game, and it's Starsword Empires. If anybody's interested in this game being developed further, I've come a long way with it, but it does need a lot more play testing. And of course, this is actually just a prototype, the final board would be much more professional looking, but this is how it will look. And I'd be willing to pursue this further and get this on the market so you can get yourself a copy. Just let me know if this interests you at all. Once again, it is a 10-player, yes it is, 10-player galactic strategy conquest game. Not super complicated, but definitely has a flavor of building an empire and conquering an empire, whether by peace or by economics or by war, depending on the race that you are or your inclination or the cards you draw. And that's the nature of the game. There's pieces for all the different empires. I've actually had to make these prototype pieces for all the different empires in here. There's a lot of pieces here. And the game has a lot of parts, so the cost is going to be a little on the high side. You've got a large board, a lot of mats here. So it's not going to be a cheap game, but it's a game you can sit down and really dig into for a series of evenings and play a big, grand galactic strategy game. So if you're interested, just leave any comments, suggestions in the comment box and comments for me. And if you want like me to pursue this further, I will do so. Just let me know. Okay, that's it for this. This is Starsword Empires. Thanks for joining me on my game shelf, and I will talk to you later.